everyone, my name is Katie Masters, and today we're going to talk about my WIP. I put a poll out on Twitter a few days ago, or possibly a week ago, asking if you guys would like to hear about me talking about my WIP. I figured a lot of you would just be really bored and would say no, but like a lot of you said yes. I was really surprised. I figure people don't want to hear about WIPs unless there's like explosions, or Nicolas Cage, or Keanu Reeves, or, you know, this.
My little buttercup has the sweetest smile. Dear little buttercup, won't you stay a while? Come with me where moonbeams paint the sky, and you and I might linger in the sweet by and by. Oh.
But no, you wanted to hear about my WIP and how I was doing, so let's talk about that really fast. If you're like me and basically live on Twitter, you'll know that I'm working on a lesbian Victorian romance novel called The Lady's Doctor. I know that's a super cheesy title, but really, what romance book doesn't have a super cheesy title? The book takes place in the Victorian era, which I just stated, and there seems to be a lot of misconceptions about the Victorian era and what people think the Victorian era is. When people think of the Victorian era, they'll often ask me, oh, you mean with the big hoop skirts and the big bonnets and the tight corsetting? And to that I say, no, not that Victorian era. That was in the early Victorian era. The Victorian era itself lasted a really long time. I don't think people realize how long Queen Victoria actually ruled for, but it was a long time. So mine takes place at the tail end, where a lot of technology was being invented, and I mean, we had electricity by this point. So my novel is basically a loose interpretation of Pride and Prejudice. Loose. The main character is Eleanor Ainsley, who is an impoverished spinster living out in the country with her sister and mother and father, and I didn't want to do 6 sisters, I'm sorry. That was, do you know how many characters that is? Do you know how many? It's a lot, and I already have a lot of characters. So, Eleanor Ainsley is an impoverished spinster. She comes into an inheritance and decides to do what any smart, young, educated woman would do, and goes off to London to find herself a wife. There she meets Alexandra Garrett, who is a surgeon. Now before anyone yells at me, okay, before you yell at me, yes, there were female physicians in Victorian England, and a lot of them, like a lot, and who wants nothing to do with love at all because she has been burned bad, you guys, like really bad, like you kind of wonder why she was with this other woman in the first place bad. And so she's sworn off love and said, never happening, not again, that sucked. And Eleanor is essentially just fresh-eyed and ready for love. So it's her job to convince Alex that she loves her. There's all kinds of Jane Austen twists in it, you know, like there's a Lydia character, and there's a Kitty character, and a Bingley, and there's everyone. I tried to put in as much of the cast as I could, including Mr. Darcy's cousin, Fitzwilliam, because he's awesome. I have as many as I can. That was my goal, was to do that. It just might not be family per se. So yeah, that is the premise of the book. This book, you guys, has killed me. It has taken me so long to write this, longer than probably any other book that I've written. It's been a lot of stop and go, which I'm really not used to. I usually will just pound out a book, like 2 months, 3 months, I've got a book done solid. This book has not been that journey. This book has mainly been writing, super like inspired, and then nothing for like a month. And then inspiration hits because, you know, you watched a TV show and it inspired you, or you saw a picture of a walnut, I don't know. But I would suddenly get inspired again, write another, you know, 10,000 words, and then hit a wall. And I've never experienced this with writing before, at least for me personally. Everyone's journey is different. It's actually been really frustrating because I'm not used to this. I'm used to my writing just being smooth sailing, which is like awful to say because I'm sure some of you have gone like whole years being stuck on something. But it's been frustrating and fun. It's been fun because the characters are fun and the world is fun, and I really, really like writing a Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth character set. They're kind of my almost ideal couple, almost. My first ideal couple is actually Catherine and Mr. Tinley? The two main characters from Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. I'm so close to being mostly done. And this book has been hard because it's been stop and go for me, which never happened to me before. And not only that, I had to do a bunch of research on a subject I thought I knew and like didn't. I knew like about this much. I knew the top of the iceberg and didn't realize that the iceberg got bigger. That has been the Victorian era for me. But other than that, other than this stop and go thing and having to research, it's been really fun. I have learned so much about the LGBTQ and specifically the lesbian community and culture in Victorian era because of writing this book. Fun fact, the Victorian era didn't actually have the word lesbian. They didn't have that term. They had no idea what it meant. At the time, they considered women to be naturally soft and nurturing and loving and sensitive and affectionate, extremely affectionate. And that was their natural tendencies and inclinations. And so it was okay and encouraged for women to hug, to kiss on the cheek, walk hand in hand, arm in arm, lay against each other at picnics. And the best, because I saw this in more than one article and book when I was doing research, they would genuinely call each other my wife, my husband. Like women, two women, if they were really, really close, they would call each other my wife, my husband. However they decided, you know, on who was who. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time because again, I could just go on for hours and hours about the Victorian era and every little minutia thing about it because I studied it so hard. Now, this book, for all of that research that I've done, is actually fun and light and like slightly fluffy because that's what I read as a romance reader and writer. I read a lot of really fun historical romances, usually by Julia Quinn, Amanda Quick, Stephanie Lawrence, Mary Below, although Mary Below writes a bit more atmospheric and she's so good. But anyways, the point is they're fun, they're light. You obviously have a suspension of disbelief because there's not, you know, 700 young, eligible, 28-year-old, handsome, viral young men walking around in the aristocracy of England. Like that, you know, so suspension of disbelief, my friends. I'm writing in that vein and along that way. So the book is fun, it's light, it's sarcastic and snarky because I honestly don't know how to write otherwise, but I wanted it to be fun. I'm nearing completion on this book and I'm really excited about it and also sad because I really love writing this book. But it just means that I get to write the next one because this book is actually the first in a series. It isn't, let's see, it's not a trilogy or anything like that, but each character within the book, okay, not each, but quite a number of characters that you'll meet in this book will have spin-off books of their own. And so the world expands and you'll get to see Alex and Eleanor as the years go by within the other books and kind of see how their relationship like progresses and is and stuff. You know, just little snippets, vignettes, kind of a thing. They do a little, what is it, a cameo, a walk-on. You know, kind of like Stan Lee.
In a flight invitation, sir. I should be on that list. Great, have
You know, I guess one person can make a difference. Enough said.
So that's where we're at. I'm at 62,000 words. I finally have inspiration going and I'm pounding out the words. So I really expect to be done before the end of this month if I'm writing the way I'm writing now. You will hopefully get to see it on shelves someday in the future because I have to convince that agent that this is a great idea and a solid bet. And then that agent has to convince publishers that this is a really great idea and a super solid bet. Which it is. It is, by the way, agents, if you're watching. It's a real thing and is wanted and no one's tapped it yet. But I am because lesbians deserve Victorian romance novels. That's not a lot of pressure at all. So that about wraps up what my WIP is about and what I've been doing and everything I've been struggling with. If you want to hear something more specific, like, I don't even know. If you want to hear something more specific, let me know in the comments below. If you know good Victorian lesbian romance novels, let me know in the comment below. One with a happy ending, by the way. Oh, and if you want to know anything about the Victorian era, ask your questions. Maybe I'll do a Q&A video and answer all of your questions that you might have about the Victorian era and lesbians in the Victorian era, because I can answer those, because I did so much research, you guys. Please ask me questions. Please, I did so much research. Someone please ask me a question. Please. If you're not subscribed to my channel and you think I'm cool enough to subscribe to, go ahead and push the subscribe button and remember to hit the bell, because that's actually the part, as dumb as it is, that matters. You can also follow me on Twitter, where I pretty much live. You can follow me on Instagram, which I'm gonna be honest is mainly just my garden, because I like gardening a lot and grow my own produce, because I'm that weird writer chick that grows their own produce and has pink hair. That's what I do. Or if you'd like to support me even further, you can always check out my Patreon, where I put up the rough draft chapters of my book that I'm working on, whatever book I'm working on. Currently, it's The Lady's Doctor, and so you can obviously go read chapters of that if you go to my Patreon and support me. Why am I writing so many books? Thank you for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!